Hello, it's Jeanette with Geomazing Paper Crafts. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm back with another video tutorial, and in today's tutorial I am going to be using the Art in Bloom bundle, which consists of the stamp set, and it also comes with dies and a special embossing folder, which is called the Bloom Hybrid Embossing folder. And this embossing folder is special, very special, and I'm going to show you why. So look at this beautiful card. This one is in the fresh freesia, and I've done some gold embossing, and on the inside I've done a little bit of stamping too. And this one right here is what I'm going to show you how I did in the pale papaya. So if you'd like to learn how I did these beautiful flowers that have a lot of dimension on them and how I cut them out, just continue watching. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to emboss the base of the card, and this card measures 11 inches by 4 1/4, and I've scored it at 5 1/2, and I'm going to be embossing it with just a regular embossing folder. This one is one of our narrow embossing folders that you could take through the mini embossing cut and emboss machine, but because I have a wider card, I'm going to be just taking it through our regular embossing machine. And I just need to emboss the edge here, so I'm just going to take it right to the edge, right just like this, and I could bring in my cut emboss machine so you can see the plates that I'm going to be using, and that is plate number 1, and then I'm going to be using 2 plate number 3s because this is just a regular size embossing folder, but I want to make sure that this is right on here. So I'm going to be putting this in between 2 plates. I don't need that added plate that I use when I'm die cutting. I just need these 2 plates here. And so let's take this through the machine. And if you can see that, look how beautiful that is. So we're just embossing that one side of the card. I could emboss both sides, but I just like it just on the one side. So let me take that and put the machine away. And we're done with our embossing folder. And so the next thing I'm going to do is set up where I'm going to be stamping these 3 flowers. I will be cutting them out, but I want to emboss them first. And I will be embossing them with the Bloom Hybrid embossing folder. And the reason it's called hybrid is because you can also die cut at the same time. But lining this up might be a little bit tricky, so I'm going to show you how I'm going to do it with my Stamparatus. Now I'm just going to take, all I need is the one plate because I'll be flipping it over. I'm going to just take a regular piece of scrap paper, and I'm going to be placing the lined outline of the stamps. That's what's going to give me the lines for embossing. And I'm just going to put this right here. I'm going to place this piece of paper right here on the edge. And I guess it really doesn't matter where I put it. Well, actually, I think it does matter. Hold on just a second. Let me look at that embossing folder. Because, yes, it does matter. So I need to put this, the one with the little flat base on the top, I need to put it on the top just like that. Okay, and I'm just going to place it right here close to the edge, but not too close. Bring it in about a 1/4 of an inch or an 1/8 of an inch. I think maybe on this side I can see a real 1/4 of an inch here. Okay, that's what I'm going to do, because I'm going to be taking the paper I stamp into this embossing folder, but I want to line up where to stamp these flowers. So in order to do that, I have to get the piece that's all together, because the other stamps are separate. so that you can stamp in different colors if you want. But I'm just going to stamp in one color, and that's that pale papaya. But I'm just lining things up right now, and I'm going to pick it up like this, and I'm going to use some Memento black ink for this. You can't see me here. I am just inking this up with Memento black ink, and I don't really need to ink it up, you know, super well, because I'm not going to be using this for the final project. I just need to use this just for lining things up, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Okay, there it is right there. Okay, hopefully it didn't move too much. Now I'm going to leave that right there. I should probably put my magnet there. And then I'm going to take out each of these stamps. Let me take this film off of them. I place all my stamps on this inside the folder, matching it up with the outlines that they give you. So this stamp right here would be, let me see, now I'm just going to flip this over so that I could pick up the stamps, but I want to make sure I line this back up where it was. And we're picking this up like that. Okay. And now I'm going to flip this back over and wipe off my stamps, because I want to do the outline first. So I'm going to get some baby wipes to wipe off all that black ink that I stamped on here, because you know, I'm going to be using my Versamark, which I accidentally when I did this the first time, I accidentally forgot to clean off my stamps, and now my Versamark got stained. I have a very stained Versamark. But you know what? We're going to just keep on going. So what I need to do is I need to take a piece of Whisper White, not Whisper White, Basic White cardstock, and we're going to be stamping. Well, first we need to stamp. That's right. First we need to stamp the color. So the color I'm going to be using is the pale papaya. And let me put this magnet here so that our paper doesn't move. We got this right here. Let's grab our pale papaya right here. And I'm going to stamp all of this here, just like that. Where's my... I could probably wipe that part off. Okay. Now this isn't going to give you a solid image, just so you know. It's supposed to look like watercolor. So there's going to be some variations. It's going to dry really pretty, and it's going to look really, really good with that gold outline when I stamp the outline. Okay, so there's what I stamped, and now I'm going to turn this around, and then I'm going to apply my Versamark ink to this. I want to make sure I got a really good impression, so I'm going to put a lot of Versamark on here, because I need to heat emboss this. So press that down really good. Okay, and we're picking it up, and I can kind of see where it's going to emboss, because my Versamark is dirty. So, but that's fine, because you're not going to see that. You're going to just see the gold embossing. So I'm going to put this away for right now, and we're going to get out our gold embossing powder, and we're going to get out our Nope, just the gold embossing powder. And let me just take this piece of paper here, and we're going to just apply our embossing powder on here. Okay. Hopefully, we can pour that all back in here. Now, if there's embossing powder that has gone off the edge right here, all you need to do is just take a little brush, okay, and just brush that off. I have this little old paintbrush that I use just to help me clean off the embossing powder where I don't want it. Okay, there we go. And now I'm going to take this to my heat gun. Let's make sure that we put all of this powder back in. Bring out the heat gun. And I'm going to speed this up and mute this so that you don't have to hear that really loud noise. And there is my embossing. The outline in the middle is so pretty. So we're going to take this to the embossing machine, and we're going to be using our embossing folder. It's called Bloom Hybrid Embossing Folder. And what I need to do is I need to line these up with the actual engraved part here. I'm going to line this up like this, but before I do, what I need to do is just with some removable adhesive, I'm just going to put a couple of pieces there. Okay, and this is why. It's because I need to, once I line it up, I want it to stay. So I put it on the back. I'm going to line this up as perfect as I can to what I just stamped and embossed. Heat embossed rather. Okay, and you can see through this embossing folder because it's, you know, it's kind of clear, so you'll be able to get a nice good impression. And that, let's see, I still need to kind of tilt it a little bit. This may take a few minutes because you want to make sure that it's perfect. Okay, and now I'm going to close it. Once I got it to where I want it, I'm closing it because I want this piece to stick to the back while I put my die in there. So I know that it looks a little crooked, and that's fine, but I'm going to grab my die, and this is from the Bloom dies. Grabbing my die, and I'm going to be putting the die up here, and it kind of snaps into place right there. You can kind of feel it snapping into place, and this is where I'm going to be embossing and cutting at the same time, and this is what makes it a hybrid embossing folder, because you can cut and emboss at the same time. So the plates that you're going to need to use, because this is a three-dimensional embossing folder, you're going to need to use the number 1 plate, and then you're going to also need to use the number 4 plate. And I'm just going to set that in there like that with the fold on the top here. I'm going to grab this plate, put that in there too, and we are going to emboss away. And hear that cutting at the same time, but it doesn't cut through the embossing folder. Isn't that cool? All right, let's see what we have here. Now you can just use this as a regular embossing folder for a nice background to your cards. But right now, I wanted to cut these out. Let's see what I'm doing here. Because each of these flowers now has some really nice dimension to them. Isn't that cool? And it cut it out just beautiful. Okay, so let's put this away. Put this aside. And what I'm going to do next is I'm going to very quickly stamp some leaves. I think I'm going to stamp about 4 leaves with the Versamark ink. And you'll probably be able to see where I'm stamping because this Versamark is so stained. But that's okay. My leaves are going to be embossed. But wait, I'm forgetting some important thing before I do that. I want to put the color on the inside of the leaf. I want to use this color. What color am I using? Green. You can use Old Olive, Pear Pizzazz, any kind of green that you like. But I think I'm going to use Pear Pizzazz. I really like the brightness of Pear Pizzazz. So I'm just going to go ahead and stamp about 4 of these. And it will lighten up. I'm going to like this. Okay. So don't worry, it's going to lighten up. And now what I need to do is I need to take my Versamark ink and I need to line this up the best I can. That's going to get all over everything, right? Okay, and so now I'm going to bring out that little piece that I used for heat embossing, and I'm going to bring out the gold right here. Okay, I probably should have dried that, made sure that this was a little bit more dry than that because I just stamped it. But I think we'll be okay. Use the brush just to make sure that there's nothing else. Oops. I just brushed that little corner off. Okay. Now we're going to be die cutting these. See how I went off right there? That's okay. I think I could fill it in with a marker. I am going to take my heat gun and let's move this out of the way. Put this back in here like that. Okay. And let's blow dry this. Not blow it. Let's heat emboss this. So now all I need to do is take this to the cut and emboss machine and cut these out. So they get cut out like that, and this die set gives you 2 of these so that you could do 2 at a time to speed up your work. So I'm going to take these to the embossing machine and I will be right back when I'm done embossing all of these leaves. So now I have all of my leaves embossed and cut out and colored, and I think I'm just going to leave them the way they are. They're not perfect, but that's okay. I'm okay with that. So let's finish up this card, and what we need to do is we need to position these flowers where we want them. So I am just going to play around with it, and I kind of want to make sure that you see the embossing on this side. So I don't want to hide that, but I want to position my flowers, and let me see what I'm going to do here. That's exactly where I want to put them, because I am going to be putting a little sentiment right down here. So just pushing this flower in just a little bit. And so in order for me to keep this arrangement here, I'm going to be using a little piece of press and seal. I'm sure you've seen people use this, and this is going to help me lift this up so that it stays positioned right, and reasonably positioned. Okay, and now I can go ahead and put my adhesive on the back of these. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some seal adhesive on the leaves, and I'll pop the flowers up with Stampin' Dimensionals. Just give it a good amount. Don't have to overdo it. Okay, now I'm picking this whole thing up, and I am going to arrange it the way I had it, or close to it, right here. And this is going to stay down when I pull this out. It's going to stay right there. Okay, what I also need to do is take my bone folder and make sure, oops, oh, look at that. Guess what I forgot to do? I forgot to take off the dimensionals. Don't do what I just did. I think I'm, since the leaves are done, I think I could pretty much figure out where. But yeah, it's not going to work if you don't take off the backers of the dimensionals, right? How many of you are looking, you forgot to take the backers off? Yeah, it's never going to work. All right. I think we're going to go with that right there. Okay, I'm going to turn this over and just make sure that this fold is burnished down really good. And the sentiment that I'm going to be using is, let me see this stamp set here. It's "You're a Rare Find." It's a pretty little sentiment, and I'll be cutting that out with this little ticket. They have this little ticket die, and I think that would look really pretty because it's got some edging on it. And I'm going to be using just some regular Whisper or basic white. I keep saying Whisper white. I'm going to be using basic white, and I'm debating whether or not I want to gold emboss, but I'm going to do it both ways. I'm going to take my pale papaya and see which one I like the best. I'm going to just stamp that here. You're a Rare Find. And then I'm going to clean this off, and I'm going to take some Versamark and do the other side. So I'm making two labels here. Now I'm going to die cut both of these with this die to see which one I like better when I place it next to the card, and I will be right back. So I kind of had an afterthought, and I stamped, you know, when I die cut this, I pushed it over to the side here so that I could make room for one of these loose flower flourishes. And these come in 3 colors. They come in the polished pink, they come in the fresh freesia, and they also come in pale papaya. And I thought I would put one of those little flowers right there on that tag. I'm not sure I liked it with the, you know, with the gold embossing. It doesn't really look as nice as this would look here with the flower. I think that would look nice with the flower there. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put a little piece of, well, first I'm going to pop this up with dimensionals and place it where I need it to be. And then I'm going to place that flower on this tag. Okay, and I'm just going to put it right here on this side. You're a Rare Find. And then I'm going to take some mini glue dots. I think I just might need one, but I'm gonna see if it sticks good with one. I'm going to take my Take Your Pick tool, grab a mini glue dot, and stick it down here. One might actually do the trick. Okay. And now it needs something else in the middle there, doesn't it? I'm going to just take a little tiny bit of the Shimmer of Crystal Effects. But I'm going to wait until I'm done with the inside, because this takes a little bit to dry. And once it's dry, then you'll see that little crystal there. But on the inside, I'm going to put a piece of Whisper White cardstock here. And I'm going to be stamping on the inside with that sentiment that said, "Thanks for making me happy." And I'm going to also be using the Pale Papaya ink, and I've got that already on my H block. And that's this sentiment right here. Thanks for making me happy. Okay. So this is kind of a friendship thank you card. Let me just move that aside. I don't want to get any ink on the inside of that. That doesn't need to be there. Okay, make sure you stamp it right side up. And I'm going to try to be as straight as I can on this card. I'm just eyeballing it. And try not to rock your stamps when you do it, because then if you have any ink on the edges outside of where you want it to be, it's going to show up on your card. Okay, thanks for making me happy. All right, and now there's another cute little stamp in this stamp set. And it's got 3 little flowers on it. And where is that? Here it is right here. I think I'm going to take this and put it on one of the these little tiny blocks. This is the A block. And I am going to just grab some more of this ink, some more pale papaya ink. I'm going to put this right here and kind of stamp off crooked like that, just to give it just a little bit of color on the inside of the card. 1 and 2. You can barely see it, but you can see it. It's there. Okay. And now I'm going to go ahead and just use some seal adhesive and place this on the inside of the card. Okay. Bring this out here like that. And you want to make sure that there's a nice even border around it, or as close to it as you can. Okay. And there's my card. Got embossing powder all over the place. And now I'm going to just take a little bit of this shimmery crystal effects, and I am just going to place just a little dab right here in the center of this flower. And now that's all I needed here. And when it dries, you're going to see a little crystal, a little bit of that crystal effects in the middle. And if you don't like it, you can, kind of dig it out, or you could color it with your blends, with your alcohol markers, just to kind of make it stand out. But anyway, this is my card for today. I hope that I have taught you something. I hope that you're going to try this embossing with that hybrid embossing folder. I think that is one of the coolest things that Stampin' Up! Came up with. Embossing and cutting at the same time. What a wonderful idea. So I hope that I've taught you something, and all of the tools and supplies that I use are going to be listed in the description of the video. And you can also go to my website, www.geamazingpapercrafts.stampinup.net. I hope I could be your demonstrator if you don't already have one. So once again, I'm Jeanette with Geamazing Paper Crafts, and you make it a great day. Bye-bye.